Hey guys, welcome back. This is Captain Muniz with Nomad Fishing Charters, and today we're out here looking for bait fish and filming this tutorial. One of the things I hear a lot from people is what makes the biggest difference, or how can I catch more fish? Well, a lot of people are under the impression that the only way to catch fish is with some, magical secret spot, GPS coordinates. Sure, spots help, but it's not everything. One of the major things you can do to improve your catch is to have good bait. And if you are fortunate enough to live on the water or keep your boat at a marina, a place with decent water flow and decent water quality, you could actually pen up your baits and improve your odds a lot. By that I mean you can either catch your bait in advance or buy your bait in advance and have it sitting at the dock when you leave in the morning. That'll do two things. It'll cut down the amount of time you need to catch bait, and also when you get out there, your baits will be in prime condition. And believe it or not, those baits, what we call seasoned baits, baits that have been sitting in the cage for a while and been getting fed, are usually a lot better as far as getting bites. They're livelier, they have a better slime coat, so they always do better. You're always going to catch more fish in them. They're also more hardy, they'll last longer, and if you don't use them, a lot of times if you've taken good care of them, you can actually, there's some noise back here, at the end of the day you can actually put them back in your bait cage or your tank. Okay, now there's different ways to keep your baits alive. If you're keeping white baits, things such as pilchards, herring, sardines, your best bet is probably going to be a Capt tank. These Capt tanks are 200 gallons, and they're the best. They keep the predators out, and they keep your baits nice and happy. Let's let this wake go by. So like I said, if you have white baits, the Capt tanks are the way to go. If you want to keep goggle eyes, or even pilchards, cigar minnows, blue runners, then you want to get a cage. Cages can be either oval, they can be circular. You can float them, you could sink them. If you're getting smaller baits, I'd go with a smaller mesh. If you're going with bigger baits, you could always go with a little bit bigger mesh. The advantage to the larger mesh is that you don't get as much growth on it. On the smaller mesh, it tends to clog up a little quicker, but you'll be able to keep those small baits like your pilchards, small sardines, and things of that nature. There's several things you want to keep in mind when you're penning up bait. Number one, you never want to power scoop the bait. By power scoop, I mean you never want to go in there and net 10 or 15 baits at a time. You always want to do one, maybe two at a time, and a lot of it depends on how tough the baits are and what type of baits. Things like goggle eyes, I would always try to do one at a time whenever possible. Sometimes you'll just happen to scoop up two, and it's easier just to load them than to put them back in. You might even do less damage that way. But the idea is to minimize the contact with the net, and especially with your hands. You don't want to touch them with your hands. If you're catching bait that you're going to pen up, you want to use a dehooker. Okay, I have one right here. I always keep one handy. You always want to use a dehooker and do not touch the baits. If you drop a bait on the deck, it's probably better just to go ahead and throw it overboard, because that bait's probably not going to make it. If the bait gets hit on the way up, hits the deck, falls, gets touched, those baits are probably not going to make it. You also want to watch the amount of bait that you're putting in your cages and your tanks. You never want to overdo it. For example, if you're doing a 200-gallon Capt tank, you probably want to do no more than like 75, 80 herring, or maybe 100 pilchards, 120 pilchards if they're sabiki caught. The reason for that is they don't do well when they get crowded. Same thing with the goggle eyes. You want to do maybe on your boat, you can probably do about easily 1 per gallon, depending on the amount of flow you have in your bait well. In your cages, you probably want to go like, I would do like maybe at least 2 or 3 gallons per bait. That way they have ample space. And that's going to vary depending on where you keep your boat and what kind of flow you have and water quality. Some marinas, there's issues with the water. maybe it's a lack of oxygen, it might be a temperature thing, but sometimes the baits will get what they call the spins, where they start spinning. They look fine in the cage, but when you put them in the boat in the live well, they start swimming sideways and upside down. That's not a good thing. If that happens to you, hopefully it's just temporary and it won't happen again, but it does happen. Here, let me move out of the way here. Got some boats coming. It's Friday afternoon, so there's a lot of boat traffic. Weather looks really nice this weekend, so it's going to be a busy weekend on the water. Just let these boats go by. So like I said, I'm going to be following up with some more videos on this topic. But if you have the ability to pen up your bait, I would strongly suggest it. You're going to catch more fish and better quality fish. Until next time, my name is Captain Muniz with Nomad Fishing.